Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dr. Gwen from the Dr. Gwen International Training and Empowerment Academy and host of the iTunes show, The Dr. Gwen Show. Now, one thing I really forgot to do just now is to check to see whether it says public or not. So I'm going to linger here a little bit, and I see a notification from Facebook that I'm live, and I want to make certain that I am on air and that you're able to see me. I think I see one viewer show up, so that's awesome, completely amazing, and I'm happy that you are joining me and that I'm live, because sometimes I know that as I push these buttons, they don't really show up. Sometimes it's saying private for some reason, and I don't end up showing up. So it's really great that you are here with me, and I cannot believe this morning I went to one of my bi-weekly meetings. So, I went outside and noticed that it is actually warm out there in the middle of fall. It is warm. Hey, Jackie. I saw that love bubble float across my screen. I appreciate you so much more than you ever know for joining me here daily and as often as you can. And for those of my friends who are getting here, hurry up, come on, get here. I have a discussion for you that I think is going to help you to continue to transform your life and who you show up as every single day. But in any event, I was talking about outside. The leaves have started to change colors and it is warm. It's like summer out there. So that is phenomenal. Summertime is usually not my favorite time to be outside, because as I tell my own friends, hey there, Jackie, I tell my own friends that I make my own summer. I make my own heat, so I don't need any help making heat or having heat come to me. And fall is usually my most special time of the year because the colors are so vibrant and rich and the temperature cools down a little bit. So as long as it's like 70s, 80s, I'm okay. When I start going out and I start panting and losing energy, that's what I really don't like. So I love the colors out there, and just heading out to my meeting this morning just allowed me to be just really thankful for having the ability to see those things. It could be otherwise. So thank you for joining me again here today. And today we're going to talk about how you get in your own way, like your own progress. How do you see yourself evolving daily? I want to ask you this, and I don't want you, as I ask you this, to raise your hand or comment necessarily, but really think about this in your heart, what it is. And the question is this: do you find yourself on a regular basis maybe being all tied up in your mind with things running your mind, circumstances that are not currently going on in your life, running your mind and impacting what you are doing presently? I asked that question because I remembered very vividly how that was my entire life. Now, I share my experiences to make a point and not so much to go over the whole events themselves. But decades ago, during my first marriage, you guys have heard me talk about that situation. There was a situation of physical and emotional abuse in my relationship. And I remembered when there were times that things didn't go right, sitting down and trying to have a conversation with my husband at the time. And I would express to him what I felt was going on and how I think that we could address it. And he would listen. He wouldn't interrupt. He would be silent during that time. But then the next words he spoke were piercing, almost cruel words that cut me down at my knees. And so I remembered thinking and justifying that maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. Listen now, ladies, because we have a way to do this. Maybe he doesn't know what he's doing, or maybe he's not aware of it. So if I bring it to his attention, maybe he would stop. Well, bringing that to his attention and all of the other atrocities didn't result in what I wanted. So this particular day, I was teaching mathematics at a middle school, and I remembered the first period, standing there at the chalkboard, and I talked to the kids, like asking them questions relating to the math problem. And they would respond, and then I would turn to write it on the chalkboard, and I burst out in tears because all along, when they were giving the response, my mind was back there about what just happened that morning. And my tears flowed freely. And I wrote very slowly so I didn't have to turn around and face my kids with those tears running down my face. And all I could remember was the excruciating pain that I felt in that moment. It was completely horrible, and it occupied my whole day. And then when Friday afternoons came, my whole body would go into consternation because I knew this was a time that he was going to be at home for an extended period of time. He wasn't the type of person who talked, so he didn't talk. We couldn't have conversations. It was silence around our home. Let me tell you, oh my goodness, excruciatingly painful. And the only voices I remembered were the voices of my kids interacting with me. So on Friday evenings, I didn't want to go home. But then when I went to church that weekend, my conversation again would, after a while, because I wasn't talking and sharing this with anyone. Thank you, Jackie. Happy Wednesday. I wasn't sharing this with anyone because at one point I was highly embarrassed to share with anyone. But after a while, after enduring it for a few years and realizing that nothing was going to change, I started talking with my friends. And that's all I knew to do. This pain that I was feeling at that time as a young woman in my late 20s, early 30s, I didn't know how to handle it. I had no idea what to do. And so I would talk about it with my friends, and we would explore ideas together, and we would pray about it, and all of those things we did. But what I did not realize at the time was that by reliving those moments, I was actually impeding my own progress and my own success in life. I was stalling while I focused on those things. And then I had watched some other leaders as I evolved into the leadership role. I watched some other leaders go through rough, challenging moments. And in those moments, they would actually turn and address someone in a completely different mindset and mind frame. And I thought, how did they do that? See, at that time, I allowed my sorrows and my pain to occupy my entire day, my entire life. And when I saw that, it was then I realized that, hey, I could possibly do something about this. I didn't have to let whatever that circumstance or that moment was impact my entire day and make me completely sad throughout the day. Then I started to put that into my own life. It was hard. It was a challenge to try to focus on what was going on in the moment and forgetting the pain that I had just experienced. But you know, I'm not a quitter, and I love those love bubbles, Jackie. I am certainly not a quitter, and so I decided that I was going to make this work. If it could work for someone else, it can also work for me. And so that's where my journey really started. That's when I started to feel as though I was beginning to have control over my day and the way I viewed my day. Now I want to ask you, what are the challenges you are having in your life, this moment, that is causing your entire day, your entire week, your entire month, or the whole part of this year so far to be messed up? I want to let you know that it doesn't have to be that way. You have that power in your own self that you can call on to compartmentalize your brain. That's what I call it. It's compartmentalization. So what that requires is being present. And those of us who are more enlightened, we understand the whole process of being present, like being conscious. If you allow something that has happened even this morning or yesterday or 10 years ago to be running your life right now, you are not being present. There is nothing to say that those experiences were not sad. Yes, they were. However, by compartmentalizing and dealing with that issue when the time comes, you give yourself the freedom and the power to operate to the level and to the degree that you never knew you possibly could. See, when I started compartmentalizing and when I started understanding the power of this and stopped focusing on things in the past or what may happen in the future, going home on those weekends, that is really where the joy started happening for me. Now, can you do that? Is there a relationship that you may be having that is completely draining and excruciating? Do you have a circumstance in your life that is draining and excruciating? Here's what you need to do. Do not give it any more focus and attention. Stay present. Now, if it's a pain, staying present will mean that you will need to not resist it. Just acknowledge that it's there. If it's a pain, it is present and it is going on. Acknowledge that it's there and release, because what that does is it at least releases your mental anguish. If you have to suffer the physical pain, that mental anguish causes that physical pain to be increased. Hey there, Daniel. So releasing that mental anguish will allow you to stay present in the moment so you can experience the joys of growth. A few years ago, when I had joined a network marketing company, and there was one individual who got promoted to the senior vice president level. And I remember this person going up on stage, and he was giving his speech about how he got there. And there was one thing that he said that stuck indelibly in my mind. He said these words: The thing about becoming a senior vice president for me is not so much getting there, but what it took for me to get there and the transformation I had to go through to get there. And I thought, whoa, you had to go through transformation to get there? Wow. But now, looking back 6-7 years later, I understand fully what he meant. I didn't at the moment. It didn't hit me. But now, being where I am today, I fully get that for me to evolve to the next level of where I want to be, it requires transformation. Personal, physical, mental transformation. I have got the mental prowess, the strength to know that I can turn on and turn off any circumstance that is going to debilitate me or any circumstance that's going to elevate me. And I want to turn on the circumstances that are going to elevate me, and I want to turn those off that debilitate me. So stop talking about those events in a way to highlight them, the ones that are debilitating to you. And focus on those events that are going to elevate you to get to where you want to get to. Do you really want to get there? There is something that came to my mind while I was meditating a couple of days ago. And it's a statement that says that the speed of your success depends on how rapidly you get out of your own way. The speed of your success depends on how rapidly you get out of your own way. If you're not getting to where you need to get out of your own way. Do you know how you're in your own way? Reflect. The other day we talked about that Johari window. Ask people. You're not asking so much that they're going to spill into your lives their ideas and their comments or their opinions, but you're asking, and your own intuition will align with whatever you know is truth. And if you're seeing consistent responses, then that's a sure key that whatever is being said is something that you probably are blind to and you need to focus on. So it's been decades now since that event, and I can truly say that my life is so much different because now I've learned how to compartmentalize whatever is going on. So if there's an emergency that is happening right now, or I just got bad news about something and I'm about to step on stage to speak to people to inspire them, I now know how to lock down that side of my brain so I can focus and deliver and to pick that back up again. And what does that require? It requires being present. So here Jackie says, getting over the overwhelm of all the things I need to get done. Time is sometimes limited. I used to be a pinball in a pinball machine. Okay, and time can be viewed as limited. There are ways we work with time. And so I understand fully what you are saying. And sometimes getting out of our own way also means that we have to develop clarity, because there are times we may have our hands in every single thing that comes our way. One thing I do with my clients when I give the passion test is I allow them to figure out what their priorities are. And those priorities revolve around those top 5 things that they discovered during that passion test. And once they discover that top 5 things, the next thing I request for them to do is to start cleaning house. They have to take on an approach where they're going to start looking at their lives and seeing those things that are out of alignment with their passions. This is how you live a purposeful, happy, fulfilling life. You've got to clean out and remove the things that are not in alignment with your purpose and your passion. Once you do that, you can begin to take control of what happens in your day. A lot of times we find ourselves saying yes to Jane, yes to Sue, yes to John, yes to Brian, yes to everything that comes in our lap. And that, my friends, is dangerous, because when we spread ourselves so thinly, then we don't have the effect that we need to have in the areas of our lives. You're amazing, Jackie. You really are. So compartmentalizing also addresses our clarifying what we are all about. Clarifying and getting out of our plate those things that don't align with what we're doing. The speed of our success depends on our ability to get out of our own way. And we get in our own way by piling on stuff, by dragging stuff in from the past, by allowing those things to run our lives presently, and then we don't focus on what is important. What we resist persists. That is completely so. And focus on what you desire. Yes, Jackie, thank you for those thoughts. So, in closing, here's what I want to do. I really want to ask you to take this on. Look into your life right now and see what it is that may be running the show, that may be running your life, that may be there undergirding everything that you're doing, that may be the topic of your conversation each time you meet and talk to someone. And then notice, is that something that is positive and uplifting that you are sharing with people? And if it is not, take a step back and allow yourself to be present. That is, don't drag the past into your present life unless it is good, happy stuff. And certainly don't drag the past into your future. Because when you drag your past into your present life, it creates sadness, angers, and negative emotions. That is the bad past. And when we drag the bad past into the future, it creates anxiety, fear, and all of the things that stop us. So we have to stay present in this moment. Compartmentalize, lock off, find yourself busy doing the things that you need to do to forget about those things that are draining to your energies. And develop clarity finally in your life so that you can take on the things in your life that really matters most to you, so that you can be that powerhouse, that Powerball, not one spinning in a machine, but one that has control over the circumstances that are going on in his or her life, so that you can hit your target with impact and power simply because you are so focused and you are on point and you know where you're going and you are compartmentalizing whatever the issues are. I want to notice whether there are any other comments. Oh, Jackie, mwah, love you, girl. And I thank you for joining me. For Daniel, that maybe popped in and out. I don't know if he's here anymore. And for those of you who will watch this a little later, leave me your comments. I want to hear what you think. And for my die-hard fan, Miss Jackie Carter, you are amazing. I love your support. I just love everything that you bring to the table, and just for being here with me mostly every day, so I don't feel like I am having a monologue. And those of you who watch again later, love you all. You have the most amazing day ever.